The U.S. Senate Special Committee on Aging will now come to order. The Chinese Communist Party is not a trade competitor that plays by different rules. It's not a diplomatic challenge to be managed through the right mix of engagement and pressure. It's a country whose government has made a strategic goal of weakening the United States, and that's the nicest way you can say it, deciding that senior citizens are a legitimate target. This hearing will cover the concrete, measurable harms that are being done to America's seniors by a government in Beijing led by the Communist Party who views our country's most vulnerable as economic opportunity. The list of dangers that Communist China presents has grown as they become more aggressive. Those threats now impact every square inch of American life. Let's start with fentanyl and other illicit drugs. America has lost hundreds of thousands of people to deadly drugs. Since 2013, China has been the primary source of fentanyl and the precursor chemicals that drug cartels use to manufacture it and kill American citizens. Thanks to Communist China. We hear a lot about young Americans dying from fentanyl poisonings, and they are, but seniors are a growing share of the victims. Older Americans living with chronic pain, veterans managing injuries, and patients seeking alternative sources for its medications due to rising costs are dying because Communist China profits from their death and because the CCP has chosen again and again to look the other way. China has made some announcements about controlling precursor exports. We've heard those before, and rarely do they hold up their end of the bargain. They never hold up their end of the bargain. Now let's talk about the pills themselves, legal ones that seniors depend on every day. As you heard in this committee time and again, over 90% of the prescriptions filled at American pharmacies are generic drugs. The active pharmaceutical ingredients are APIs, and most of those drugs come from China or India. For many critical medicines, China isn't just a major supplier, they're the only supplier. There is no domestic alternative standing by. If Beijing decides tomorrow to restrict drug imports, as it has explicitly threatened to do in the CCP's state media, American seniors will feel it in weeks. According to a CPA report, Communist China supplies 87% of U.S. antibiotic API imports and over 80 to 90% of global API production. We cannot field the military if China stopped exports. We saw how China withheld PPE during COVID. This is a real problem. China has leverage. Communist China knows it has leverage, and our committee's investigative work has made it clear that they are not shy about reminding us. That is why legislation like the Clear Labels Act is important. It's time Americans truly know where their drugs come from. We would have never let the Soviets have this kind of leverage over us during the Cold War. We should be taking this issue just as seriously now. No sane country would act like this when their opponent wants to destroy them. We have to wake up. That's why we're pushing the federal government every day to support domestic manufacturing and leverage the full buying power of the government to support our domestic drug makers. And I want to thank the ranking member for her actions here. Here's another way Communist China hurts our seniors: relentless scams. In 2024, Americans over 60 lost nearly $5 billion to financial scams. That's not just a crime statistic, but a coordinated campaign run an industrial